What family drama do you want to get off your chest? My mom tried ruining my life on several accounts and is a narcissistic alcoholic with some kind of personality disorder. She has early onset dementia. She's so nice now. Nobody talks about it because we're all so much happier around her, but it's also sad. Is there dementia related to alcoholism? Is that even a thing? I ask because my boyfriend's mum is an alcoholic and I wonder if this could happen to her. Damn, was about to post something similar. Minus that nice part. We're trying to figure out what's truly medical dementia, and what's her controlling behavior. The doctors say she needs care 24/7 for anxiety, but it comes and goes. She's perfectly lucid and her memory's great when one of us is around, so how much of this is her just trying to keep us close so she can unleash the fury more easily, like old times? You say you are much happier around her now. So were you able to forgive her for what happened in the past? Man, I thought I was the only person who had this experience with a relative. My grandma was a dick 99% of the time. She beat the living shit out of my mum and uncle until they left home. Massive alcoholic, rarely had a nice thing to say to any of us, and on the rare occasion she was nice there'd always be some kind of mean jab at some point. Oh, also a hooge racist. That all being said, she did have a pretty shitty life for some time, lots of trauma in her childhood. Anyways, a few years ago she is diagnosed with vascular dementia and cancer of the everything. The more the dementia progressed, the nicer she was to us. It was fucking surreal. Towards the end she was just a scared old woman who realized she had no power left anymore, and she softened considerably. Me and my mum have joked about how dementia brought us closer together, but in its own fucked up way it did. The night my nan passed away, my mum held her hand the whole time despite hating her for years. Life is funny, and by funny I mean cruelly ironic. My father is retiring in a month and my mother is having a panic attack about it. She's freaked out about losing the money he makes. They won't actually lose all that much. She's also freaked out about him having nothing to do all day long. She forgets that for the first 14 years of my life, my dad was a stay-at-home dad. He managed to keep himself busy while I was in school all day. I'm sure he'll keep himself busy in retirement. The man survived cancer and a botched surgery twice. He deserves some well-earned rest and relaxation. I saw some of those nice golf cart retirement communities in Florida. That's where I plan on going after retirement. Gonna beach my old saggy ass and drive around in my hot rod golf cart. My in-laws are going through the same thing. My Phil retired late last month. My mill convinced him to push it back for the last 3 years. Now he's finally retired. She's worried sick about money, not having enough and never being able to do anything again. The money he makes from retirement is very similar to his salary at work. This man survived 3 heart attacks and open heart surgery. Let him retire. He won't be bored. If your mom is so worried about money, she can get a job or STFD. My stepdad used to try to catfish me constantly when I was in my early 20s. He'd message me on MySpace and try to talk sexually to me while pretending to be a guy around my age. I found out one day when I went to use his computer to print something and I saw the account logged in. He did it a bunch of times, but I'd be able to tell it was him because of the IP address. He also constantly put keyloggers on my computer. Read all my conversations, emails, etc. He had photos saved of me on his computer. He'd go through my things, my underwear drawer. I told my mom about it eventually and she kicked him out, temporarily. She told me it was my fault that my brother and sister would no longer have a father. I lived there until I graduated from college and then moved out of state. Hated seeing his face, and my mom likes to pretend that all never happened. What a creep. It's a shame your mum is with this person. I don't know who I'm more ashamed of, your mother or your stepfather. I'm so glad the internet didn't exist when I was a teenager. My stepdad wasn't creepy, underwear drawer etc., but he stalked me like crazy, always assuming I was up to no good. He totally would have done all the stuff you described if their internet had been around. What a violation. I'm sorry. Your mom's a cunt. My mam used my name and dob to get things out of catalogs and never paid for them, so now I have about £900 worth of debt in my name and my credit score is terrible. I'm not even sure she feels as sorry as she makes out to be. Did you file a fraud report? That's fucking awful. I don't know her but seems mad that someone could do that to their child. Secretly steal stuff from her and sell them on eBay until the debt is paid. Just don't forget to stop when you're done. My 18Y0 sister was dating some fuckboy 2015. Fast forward to summer 2016, said fuckboy and sister break up and then a week later get engaged. Cool, live your life, good luck. They announce they're getting married within the month. Suspicious. During the planning, my mom and sister get in a huge fight, which is NBD because they always do. Fuckboy then decides it's his place to call my mom and say she's a terrible mother and doesn't deserve to have my sister as a daughter plus other horrible shit. Sister doesn't tell him to back off or apologize, ends up taking his side. Wedding goes as planned. It was a shit show and mom is treated like garbage, not part of the family by both sister and fuckboy fiancé. Sister's fuckboy boyfriend is now fuckboy husband and she's due to have his baby next month. It seems crazy that he would call your mum to say she's a piece of garbage. Even if the situation was that, it's not fuckboy place to get involved, it's disrespectful to your sister to speak to any of her family like, what a fuckboy. When I was 13 my mom gave birth to my brother. My parents didn't get along at all, but once my mom was pregnant it seems like things would be okay. Day of my brother's birth was so happy. That is until he was taken by the doctors because they found drugs in his system, meth. My mom's craziness all made sense, she was a drug addict. I just never thought she would do that to her baby. My brother was taken away for about a week, then when we got him back he had to live at my aunt's and my mom couldn't breastfeed. Instead of being happy I was going through the worst time in my life and I just pretended like everything was fine when my friends asked about my little brother. My family has never recovered. Parents ended up divorced. Mom still did drugs for years after. Little brother is okay though physically, but who knows the effect that has had on him. His first 3 years were very chaotic. He definitely didn't get what he deserved, although I tried to be his source of love and affection. I'm still his favorite to this day. He is an awesome 15-year-old kid. Whatever you do, just keep him far away from the stoner crowd. I've never once believed weed is a gateway, but that is a Pandora's box you want to keep shut tight. My aunt stopped talking to my mom years ago over something that my mom did to me. I forgave my mom, but my aunt never did. She got kind of obsessively crazy about it, to the point that when she got pregnant years later, she asked everyone in my family not to tell me about it because she was irrationally afraid my mom would hurt her babies if she found out. My mom is nuts, but not violent. Yesterday, after over 10 years, it occurred to me that my aunt, who had been my other mom at the time, would have been okay with never speaking to me again had I not found out by accident that she had gotten pregnant. If she could have kept the babies a secret forever and avoided me, she would have. I don't know if I can ever look at her the same now. My extended family stopped talking to all of us because they found out my mom was an alcoholic, and somehow that means they shouldn't be a support system for the 2 kids, brother and I. They're crazy religious, and not the greatest people, but that was the least Christian thing I've ever seen them do. Sometimes it works out for the better, you don't need those shitty people in your life. I'm just thinking of all the money I'm saving by not buying them birthday, Christmas gifts, and I don't have to ever invite them to my wedding. Hooray! It is actually funny the timing on this post. I've been kind of upset and anxious about this since it popped into my mind last night. Don't really know who to talk to about it, because it'd just cause drama to family, and it'd just sound weird to friends. I am not moving back to the desert to take care of my adult disabled brother so my parents can care for my newborn first and only child. Just no. Stop asking. Please. So your parents want to raise your kid and have you raise their kid. Bullshit. Hell to the nos. They sound like absolutely disgusting people. I'm the youngest in the family. Halfway through my first semester in college I find out that my mom moved out and that my parents, who've been married for like 42 I think years, are getting divorced. And that my mom was basically cheating because she was always on the phone with a guy she was previously engaged to years ago, and my dad saw her texts on a cell which none of us even know she had, that apparently she'd been hiding for months. I'm not particularly excited to go home after this semester ends. I know what you mean. My parents split after 30 years because my dad had been cheating on my mom. My mom suspected, and one day she called their friend to be like, "Hey, X and I are splitting up," and the friend goes, "Oh good, that means I can finally talk to you about his girlfriend. While I didn't have the added stress of being in college, I would be happy to talk to you if you need it. Hugs." My dad is still with that woman, by the way. They broke up for a hot minute, he talked so much shit about her and made everyone hate her, and then they got back together, so now we hate her even more because she's a goddamn gold digger. My family life was real rough through college too, and it made me hate going home. Always felt like I had to pick a side. I even stayed at school for one spring break because I was happier being alone than having to carry the weight of all their bullshit. I actually went through a similar situation in college as well. My parents split my sophomore year and their nasty divorce continued right up until I graduated. It's really stressful having to deal with all that while in college, so I feel for you. I, like you, got by trying not think of it, and now my mom resents me for not being more supportive of her during the whole divorce. Can't win. Last winter my mom found out that my father was cheating on her with another woman. He gave her a bullshit story and my mother chose to believe it. Last Thanksgiving, I wanted to print out a picture on the internet to draw, so I asked my dad if I could use his computer. I needed to save the photo in a folder to expand it in another program. After opening the folder, I saw that he still has photos of the woman. Fuck him, my mother deserves better than that. Should have printed one of those and used it as your inspiration. Did you tell your mom? I caught my dad cheating on my mom when I was 16. I found out about it when I went to use the family computer and his email was still logged in. Of course I read through the emails. She knew when he would be home alone, what his dog walking schedule was, when we would be at school. I printed a bunch of them out and sat on it for a few days. I finally snapped and confronted him and he stared at them for a while, then made up the most bullshit fucking excuse, that a friend of his who moved to Florida was using his email address. Are you fucking kidding me? That's not how email addresses work, asshole. And even if that were remotely true, why would he be catfishing this girl with all of your family's in Maryland information? That makes no fucking sense. My mom came in the middle of me yelling at him and read them. She walked away and I didn't speak to either of them for a few days. Finally, my mom approached me and said that she trusts him and they've come too far for her to let him go, but if he was doing anything, I probably scared him into stopping it. Nah, I probably just scared him into securing his accounts a little better. This was 16 years ago. They're still married. Everyone acts like it's all water under the bridge, but every once in a while, I remember it and get pissed off all over again. My dad is one of my best friends and he's an amazing father and grandfather now. I can't believe he was pulling that shit. Sunday my parents were at my aunt's house with family celebrating her 50th birthday. Let me preface that a few days earlier, on my aunt's actual B-day, she had texted my mother she was in the club. The club being 50 and over. So my mom, father, and grandmother were sitting together and my aunt sits down with them. My mom, jokingly says, "Oh, you're sitting with the club," and my aunt goes, "Huh," so my mom repeated herself. My aunt got up and went to the other side of the room to sit with my other aunt and uncle. It's so fucking stupid, but I just can't stand them. You'd think they were celebrating her sweet 16. She also likes to host parties at her house, she invites everyone, and then throw my dad a fucking bill to pitch in money for everything. Without ever mentioning it beforehand. I hate your aunt. I had an acquaintance like this in college. Would throw parties and get a platter of sandwiches from Jimmy John's or get a keg or something. And then after everyone showed up he would demand people chip in for it. We all slowly dropped contact with him over the years because he was an intolerable douchebag. My dad's side of the family does the whole, "Thanks for coming to the party, here is your share of the bill." It's absolute bullshit to pull that on anyone. My parents are currently trying to throw me in jail for a crime I did not commit, all while pursuing a civil case against me as well. This is after they forced me to move out 3 years ago after a year or so of fighting and other major issues, and after making me basically homeless yet again by turning the only person left of my side against me, my grandma, who I moved in with after I left their residence. Because of all this, I have fallen into a deep depression, have not finished college, and am in a decent amount of debt. More recently, while this case is ongoing, they keep trying to reach out to me for contact. I'm ignoring them, to say they miss me and want to help me, which is ironic, because the only thing I need help with is keeping them out of my life, permanently. Feel free to vent at Raised by Narcissists, and don't forget to ask for advice in Legal Advice and Personal Finance. Be careful, legal advice isn't particularly friendly towards users of Raised by Narcissists. Raised by Narcissists have their own subthread of legal advice that is more geared towards people like you. My parents are both narcissists and liars, horrible with money. My father touched my stepsister inappropriately and now they have to move out of their house because the neighbors found out and called CPS on them. My stepmom stole my 5 hits of LSD and then lied to my face about it and then tried to tell me it's unethical to take drugs. They are perfect and never are guilty of any wrongdoings. They push away me and my siblings and then blame us and make us feel like shit for abandoning the family. They are fucking awful and my father really expects me to name my son after him despite me telling him it's not happening. I'm sure that will be a shit show when it happens. Name your son after a beloved grandfather or uncle. Boom. Is anything being done to help protect your stepsister? In a somewhat similar situation, except my sister is in on the consensus that my brother and I are responsible for disbanding the family. It's thrown around so often, even though it's such a hurtful thing to hear. Hope the future is brighter for you, at least I still got my hits of LSD. Usually, I can steer clear of family drama and just hilarity ensue from a distance. Not so with one of my great-aunts. She fancies herself some sort of matriarch of our family, and likes to pretend that her branch of immediate family is more well-off and therefore better people than the rest of us lowly cretins. She's been making petty jabs at our branch of the family for years since we tend to be more blue-collar. She made jabs at myself and all my siblings for going to community, state colleges rather than bigger universities. She's picked on my brother for going into the Navy, saying it's because he's not fit to do anything else. She won't attend a big family function like Thanksgiving or Christmas unless it's hosted at her house or her daughter's house. In her words, it's because she wants to be comfortable. She really doesn't like me because she believes women should be prim, proper and polished, and I once ate a steak like a big meat cookie just to piss her off at one of her stupid Tupperware parties. She offered to host my wedding if you ever get the chance to get married at her house, so I'd actually have a chance of affording a nice venue. Fuck that. I'd rather get married at a courthouse and invite nobody than have anything lavish at her house. She criticized one of my sisters for having a baby out of wedlock, and won't speak to another of my sisters because she had babies out of wedlock and they're biracial. So, after tolerating her for years and years, one day I walked out in the middle of a 4th of July gathering and haven't spoken to her since. This rankles her to no end. She likes to be loved, she likes to be hated openly, but perceived indifference drives her crazy. She's tried baiting me a few times and I've just ignored her. Fuck you, your boat and your credit card debt, Carol. I'm glad my dog puked on your floor 6 years ago. I like you, smiley face. Funny timing. My and I will be leaving in 15 minutes to talk to my sister and see whether we can sort out our family drama. She's been a pain in the ass the last 3 years, it's gotten worse since we've gotten engaged, and to top it all off she outed us to my father a few weeks ago. My so and I enjoy S&M, which I only wanted to keep from my dad since it's private, not because I'm ashamed. She's been using it as an excuse to be a total bitch to my sir, even though she had no issues with my being a masochist before him. She just doesn't like him because he tells her when she's saying bullshit and doesn't always let her get her way like everyone else. Oh, and me becoming more assertive and not being a total pushover anymore doesn't help either, I guess. If she has been just a friend, I would have cut her from my life years ago. But since it's family, we gotta try and work it out, especially with my dad's birthday coming up. I think it's time for you to visit our Just No family. If you wouldn't let anyone else treat you this way and she's never done anything else to make you think she's a decent person, you're allowed to cut her out of your life. I'm not speaking to my mother. If anyone had said a fraction of the things she has said to me, I'd be 12 sorts of done with them. After a certain point, family stops being enough of a reason to be treated like crap. Now how did it go? Mom, you're a goddamn time bomb. You're on the brink of homelessness, Grandpa died and they're selling his estate. I think you're too proud to ask, but you can't live with me. Booze has cost you everything, your marriage, your career, relationships with your children, money, health. You've made poor decisions and managed to survive only by the charity of others. Quit drinking, get a job, save money, apply for healthcare, and pay your fucking taxes. You think you did a stellar job caring for Grandpa, but I honestly think you contributed his demise. Alcoholism is the worst. It's an illness, but one that's hard to give any sympathy towards. Sounds a lot like my mom. Yesterday my family fought over Subway. It's a long and dumb story. Basically we got subs for dinner. They were all labeled. I said that my brother had my sub instead of his, he didn't believe me and wouldn't read the label. He took a bite, spit it out and freaked out that it wasn't his sub. He then got pissed off, felt bad, and freaked out. Meanwhile I didn't give a shit or make a big fuss. I said I'd make a sandwich. Then my dad flipped out on me for being mad when I literally didn't have a problem, and then he started screaming at us both. So somehow my brother throwing a tantrum meant that I was at fault. Opening parenthesis question mark question mark question mark question mark question mark closing parenthesis. Sounds like a normal family problem. Why would you make a whole new sandwich if your brother only took a bite out of yours?